Okay, what if I told you the secret to running a faster marathon isn't about running more miles, but in running the right miles? The 50-mile long run isn't just another session, it is the session that will change your game. Get this right and you'll not only finish strong, but blow past your personal best with confidence. I'm going to share my 3 favorite 15-mile long runs that have helped me and the athletes that I coach build speed, endurance, and mental toughness. And I'll lay out the paces you need, whether you're chasing sub 3, sub 330, and even my own training of chasing sub 220. These workouts will take your training to the next level. I'm Grantham, a coach and elite ultra runner who went from running the marathon in 4 hours 25 to running 2 hours 21 and representing my country at both the marathon and the ultra marathon. And it was when I started to run specific shorter long runs like these that I'm about to show you in this video that my game really took off. And I help runners to do exactly the same. So if you feel like you're capable of running way faster, then please get in contact by booking a discovery call in the link in the description. Here are my top 3 15-mile runs, specific long runs of 24 kilometers or 15 miles that I've used to run personal best after personal best in the marathon. Session number 1. Now I'm working towards a 2 hour 20 marathon, and you can translate this, and I'll translate on the screen the paces for a 3 hour marathon and a 3 hour 30 marathon. So with that 2 hour 20 marathon, I want to be running 3 minutes and 19 seconds or 3 minutes and 20 seconds for simplicity per kilometer. What that means with 320 per kilometer is 10% slower is exactly 340, 20% slower is exactly 4 minutes. So this progressive long run will be 8 kilometers, 8 kilometers, 8 kilometers, with the first 8 kilometers at 20% slower than marathon pace at 4 minutes per kilometer. The middle section of 8 kilometers is just 10% slower, so 340 per kilometer. And then the final 8 kilometers is at 3 minutes 20, exactly marathon pace for me, so that I'm finishing that long run, medium long run if you like, at exactly marathon pace. So it's working with 24 kilometers of worth of volume, warm up and cool down, and it's all relative to the pace that I want to be running in the marathon. And that nicely fed in to my 100K goal too. What that looks like in reality is you want to be doing your interval session midweek, and then you want to schedule this for the weekend. I love to do it on Sunday when I've got most time. The warm up is crucial. You don't want to get to that first 8 kilometers and the first couple of kilometers are a shock to the system. You want to warm up well. And for me, it looks like 5 minutes of just walking, checking out the body. Are the calves okay? Are the hamstrings firing? Are the glutes firing? And then I'll start to do some light jogging, some dynamic stretching, and then some accelerations up to the pace that I want to run in that first segment. Only when I'm fully warmed up am I actually gonna go into the run. So if that takes 10 to 12 minutes, great. If it takes 20 to 25 minutes, it primes the run. So it helps me get the best out of that run. And if you think of your marathon training, 13 weeks specific, a week and a half, 10 days of that is taper. So you've got to get 22 sessions in 11 weeks right in order for you to be in PB shape. And I would argue that you need to get 80% of those right. So if you focus on the warm up and then you're primed and ready to go, you're going to get so much super compensation from this type of session. 15-mile long run, number 2. Now we're going to work with alternating pace, and we're going to do 2 kilometers at marathon pace, so at 320 per kilometer, and then 1 kilometer in between at 20% slower than marathon pace, so at 4 minutes per kilometer. I'm going to repeat that 8 times. So it's essentially 8 blocks of 2 plus 1 kilometer. So 24 kilometers in total. And again, the warm up is going to make that initial first couple of 2 kilometer blocks at marathon pace not feel like a shock to the system. It's going to make sure that you not only ease into this session, but your heart rate doesn't drift up and become uncontrollable too quickly. What it's also going to do for you is make it feel like when you're doing 20% slower than marathon pace, it feels ridiculously comfortable. And that will become even more comfortable over time as you spend more time at marathon pace and those middle sections when you're recovering at just 20% slower than marathon pace. What that looks like for me is, for marathon pace, I'm in zone 3 or towards the top of zone 3, depending on the climate. And then for those 4 minute repeats in between, I'm in zone 2, so it's nice and comfortable. I could do it not necessarily all day, but for a long time. With these long runs, it's very tempting because you've done such a lot of volume to get straight in the car or get straight home. Give the cool down the respect it deserves. It's going to help you stay consistent over the weeks. What that looks like for me is you're finishing and your heart rate is pretty high, it's pretty elevated. You want to bring that heart rate down slowly and gradually so that you'll get to a point where you're kind of walking around heart rate. What that looks like is, for me, the warm up, but in reverse. So I'm gradually bringing the pace down to a light jog. I'm then doing some static stretching and then some walking. And within that 15-minute window, I'm getting a very calorific fruit smoothie into my system to replenish my glycogen supplies. And especially in a run, like alternating paces or changing paces within a run, you're going to burn through glycogen faster, which is another big plus point for this type of run. Third 15-mile long run. Now I'm going to give you an extra kilometer for free. So we're going to do the warm up and keep the cool down exactly the same, but we're going to do 5, 15, 5. So what that looks like is 5 kilometers at 4 minutes per kilometer, 15 kilometers at 320 per kilometer, and the final 5 kilometers at 320 per kilometer. Now you can play around with that, but it will give you at those paces, and those paces relative to the time that you're trying to run, will give you a lot of confidence, because that middle segment, you're still on relatively fresh legs, you're able to push the pace and specifically towards the marathon pace that you want to hold for 42k or 26 miles. What it's also doing is giving you a 25k run to 5k at the beginning, 5k at the end, at relative pace to the pace that you're going to be running on race day. It's a great confidence booster, and what you can do to alter that and to make it gradually harder is have those final 5 kilometers at maybe half marathon pace, or ramp up a notch in order to make that final 5 kilometers a little bit quicker so it's a faster finish than marathon pace. And again, maybe you want to build up to that, but it will be a confidence booster. Now these are super efficient workouts. Within 2 hours you've done your warm up, your cool down, and the main session. So if I'm working at 4 minutes per kilometer for 25k, it's around about 140 plus the warm up and cool down. It's a little bit over 2 hours, but it's a very efficient long run. It's not long slow distance where I'm out there for 2.5, 3.5 hours. It's about me being very, very specific towards the pace that I'm trying to run. What it also means for you is that you can do many of them over the months and over the training schedule so that you are ready to run specifically at marathon pace on race day. I hope you got something from that. And if you did, please let me know in the comments below which of those 3 runs is your favorite and which you're going to implement.